Come in. Morning. Daniel.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. To the discussion.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you
So, Daniel, tell me about your book.
Well, my book is called The Madman's Daughter. It's by Megan Shepherd. It has 420 pages. Oh, by the way, thank you for letting me choose this book. You recommended me this book, and this is the reason why I chose this book. Let me tell you more about this book. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, well, this book is about a girl named Julia, and she goes to a remote island with a man named Montgomery, who is actually her childhood friend, who she finds very attractive. And when they go to this remote island, they find her dad, who's a mad scientist. And when they go there, they find out he's been doing experiments on humans by combining animals and humans together, by mixing their organs and skeletal bones together. And with that, they go on this deep adventure to find more secrets about him, to the point where they find out that Juliet was actually one of them as well. She is also considered a beast. Yeah. Rizo, tell me about your book.
Alright, well, I read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. It has 435 pages. And I chose this book because I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter series. I love the first two books, since this is the third one. I found them really interesting, the first two, so I decided to choose this one for my book talk. That's interesting.
Nice.
What about you, Emmanuel? Tell me about your book.
So I read Legend by Mary Lou, and this book has exactly 301 pages, and I chose this book because my friend Abraham told me to choose it out. He said he didn't read all of it, but he read most of it, and he told me it was a good book, so I chose it, and I read the inside cover where it had a quick summary, and it looked pretty good, and I grabbed it and I checked it out. What about you, Jayden?
That actually looks like a popular movie, too.
I think it is. I read a book called The Inner Games from Arson Scott Card, and I chose this book because there's a lot of action, killing, and fighting, and that just interests me a lot. And
That book looks really small. How many pages are there?
324.
Oh, that's
That's well past 250.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Well, tell me more about your guys' book. How about you, Rizo? Tell me what it's about.
Alright, so everyone knows Harry Potter, he's a wizard. Even if you haven't read the books or seen the movies, everyone knows who he is. So, in the beginning, he's with his aunt and uncle and his cousin who torment him. And they really limit to what he can do. At one point, he was living in the cupboard, and I'm pretty sure everyone has at least heard that once. So, a few days into summer vacation, he finds out that there is a criminal on the loose by the name of Sirius Black. And that criminal was a huge follower of Voldemort, which is Harry Potter's #1 enemy throughout the series. And Sirius Black escaped one of the most toughest jails that there is, and he's out looking for Harry Potter to try to kill him. And so with that, he's getting messages to not go to his school, Hogwarts, but he wants to go either way. Anyway, because life at his uncle's and aunt's house is horrible. So, and he prefers to be at his school more than he does to be at his house. Yes. So he goes, and there was a weird thing that happened on the ride there. Some creatures called the Mentors went onto the train, and there's a whole situation that happened with Harry Potter and the creatures. And once they get there, they go through what they usually do. So the first years, they get the sorting hat, they see which house they go to, and yeah, so since Harry Potter, this is his third year here, he already knows pretty much, what to do, he knows where to go, and so he goes to his classes, and he starts practice in October for their game called Quidditch, which is kind of a weird game because they play it on flying brooms, which is, it's weird, but cool. So they go on, and all the teachers and everyone that works, all the staff at that wizarding school, they're all looking after Harry because everyone knows that the criminals escaped, so they all want to protect Harry Potter because Harry is like in the first book. Harry Potter is shown that, the reader's told that he survived an attack from a man named Voldemort, and Voldemort was one of the most powerful wizards out there, and for him to survive an attack, that's amazing. So he's really well known in the wizarding world, and all the teachers and staff, they want to protect him and they want him to be safe.
That was actually a really good summary. That was a really long summary.
Sorry,
That's a lot for that
this
little
is just
book.
I know.
And it's like
It's a
hella
lot.
series too.
Yeah.
What book was
Amen.
that? What book was
It's
that?
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which is
No,
the
well,
third book.
The third one. So my book pretty much takes place with two different characters that towards the end of the book they meet up. So the first character is June, and she's a very smart girl. Both her parents died, so her older brother that's in the military for the government, he's in the military, and he takes care of her and everything because her parents died, and she goes to this Drake University where they train her to be in the military and a bunch of these special forces. And she's barely 15, and she's only in her third year in, because she's really intelligent. All her training, her combat physical, she just exceeds it like that. And she's living her good life. And then there's Day. He's a guy, and he's very poor. His family is very sick, and they're dying. And he's out there trying to steal medicine from the government and all this, to provide the medicine that his family needs because they're very sick and they're very poor. They can't afford it. So during towards the middle of the book, her brother, June's brother, he dies. There's this very close servant that works with them. His name is Thomas. He gives him rides everywhere, both of them. And she calls him and gets her out of school and tells him that her brother died, and she was already pretty much done with school, and she was already going to the military. So she started look into who killed her brother, and the government told her who killed her brother, who they thought killed her brother, which was Day, the other character. So that's when she went out looking for him, but she didn't know that his name was Day and stuff. And one day they meet up in a club, and she didn't know that was the person who killed her brother. And they're at a little club, I think it is, a little club, and they start flirting with each other. They kiss each other, not knowing that he killed her brother. And it's not until that the government starts looking and asking her what she's doing, that the government tells her, that's the person that we've been looking for. That's the person who killed your brother. And she knows, and the next day they hang out. And by that time, June already called the government to go raid the parents' house, where the family's sick. And she tells Day, he's I'm sorry, but they're gonna go raid your parents' house, and they're gonna go arrest all of them and everything. And he's because he killed my brother. And once they get there, Thomas, the servant, he shoots Day's mom in the head, as kind of payback for killing
The brother.
for killing the brother. And then he kills the brother, and then they're going to trial. They arrest Day and everything. And then while June is going through her brother's stuff, she finds a journal, and she finds out that the government killed her parents, because supposedly her parents died in a car crash. But the government that she worked for, the Republic, because in her mind, Republic's all oh good, I'm gonna be a sergeant and all that in the Republic. And it turns out that the Republic killed her parents. So then she started looking more into it, and while she was reading it, Thomas, the guy, her servant, or the guy that drives her everywhere, comes out of nowhere and tells her that he killed her brother, that it wasn't Day. And she was because he's been their servant since she was a hella small girl.
Mm-hmm.
But by then she's already way more trained than him, so they start fighting, and she kills him. and whatever, he's dead. And then now June's trying to help Day get out of prison because they already sentenced her to death. And I think it's like 2 days until they sentence her to death. And she knows that Thomas killed her brother, wasn't Day, and they were about to execute her. And they have this friend who looks just exactly like Day, and they're gonna. He's pretty much giving up his life for her. So because they look almost identical, and he goes to they sneak her out. They sneak Day out. They sneak him out, and then they replace him with the guy. And the government doesn't know that they replaced him. So the guy gives his life for her. The whole execution goes, and they see. And then June and Day, they just run off. No one hears about them no more. And that's pretty much just it. They just run off. That's pretty much. And they had a weird ending. It just like kind of like cut off. It was just like, oh yeah, he got away, and we got away. They got away without them noticing. So that was pretty much it.
Are you guys done?
Almost. We have one more person.
Yes, it's been like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we know.
Oh man, we were in the middle of like videoing too.
It's alright. It's a discussion. Alright.
Well, we'll continue this next time and we'll do a part 2 later.
No, it's fine. We can just
No,
continue.
we're almost
It's
done.
fine.
We can do it.
Alright,
Just-
Jayden, the last
Let me,
person.
can I mention one thing real quick?
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that they said that the government said that her parents were killed in a car crash, right?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, in a car crash.
But, yeah.
So in my book, well, in the series of the book, his aunt and uncle tell Harry Potter that his parents died in a car crash too. I don't know. I saw a little bit of a connection.
Yeah. So Jay, I have a question for you. What was the climax of the story?
Comics of the story is
in your
when
book.
the comics of my story was when he entered the video game not knowing it was real life.
Mm-hmm. Also, he thought it was a video game.
Yeah, he thought it was a video game. Killed all the enemies, which were called boogers. And then once he came back to base, saying he accomplished the video game, the commanders told him that it was not a video game, it was real life.
Nice. What was describe the main character?
The main character was very intelligent. He was like crazy intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody who picked on him, he'll get in their head and destroy them from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very powerful.
It's crazy.
You guys have questions?
Lou, what's it called? If they were to make a movie by your book, who would you cast as the main characters that appear in the book?
Honestly, I don't know that many like Hollywood actresses or Hollywood actors, but if they were to cast anybody in this book, it has to be someone who's shy but yet brave at the same time and willing to go far and is sensitive about themselves, because Julia is the same exact thing. She's very timid and she's very small, pale, and weak, but when it comes to it, she can be brave and she can stand up to herself at any time. What about you, Emmanuel? Can you tell me more about your book? Tell me like the climax of the book, because I know you told me that
The climax?
that the main character's brother was killed off. So would
Yeah.
you tell me more?
I think the
about
climax would be the turning point when she finds out that it was the government who killed her parents. And it says right here, it says on page 250 and 251 of chapter 10, it says, "Has the Republic murdered relatives of my Drake classmates too? All those people who died in combat or in incidents or of illness. What else is a secret?" So at this point, she was wondering, like, what is the Republic keeping? Because she thought that the Republic was all good, but she was wondering, like, oh, like, the Republic killed my parents. How many other people have they killed? How many, what other secrets do they have? Did they also kill her brother? And, stuff like that. She was wondering a lot. She was confused because she thought Republic was all good, but it turns out they really weren't. Yeah.
Well, I can almost compare myself to that, or my book can compare to that book, because Juliet, when she finds out that she's also a creation of her father's, it's a turning point for her, because she realizes that she's also considered a beast, and because of that, she goes on a rampage with her, like the whole laboratory, and then she like threatens her own life with her father, and then because of that, like that's a turning point of where everything goes down and crazy, and then it's to the point where like the whole island falls apart because of that one thing she found out.
You want to have other questions for
Then you describe how was the climax?
Well, out of the 250 pages that we had to read, I say that the game of Quidditch was probably the climax of the 250 pages, since during the game of Quidditch it was storming really hard. It was rain. He could barely see his teammates. He could barely see the opponents. And his position, what he has to do is catch like a little tiny walnut-sized ball, with little wings that's flying around. And to win the game, the seeker has to, get that. And his position is seeker. So while he was looking for the little ball, they're like the creatures that I mentioned earlier called the Dementors. They appeared onto the field, even though they're not supposed to be on school grounds. They are supposed to be standing at the entrances, but not on school grounds. And so they came to the field, and something weird happened, similar to what happened on the train on the way there. And Harry fell 50 feet onto the ground, and he was unconscious, and they took him to the hospital wing. But during the game, there was a lot of action that's going on, since the game is really crazy. Yeah.
All right. Well, since we have a lot to talk about this book, so let's continue this like another time. Is that okay, you guys?
Sure.
All right, let's do this.
What time do we get out? Well, how many questions do we have left?
We have like one question.
Yeah.
Good. Welcome back, guys.
Seven. Anyone have any questions?
I have a question. So,
Okay.
you mentioned previously how there were beasts in the island, right? That the father was creating. Can you go into more detail about those beasts?
Well, actually, I can, because the story it has the quote that says exactly how they originate and where they came from.
Oh, okay.
And Julia is the main character is actually considered a beast because at birth she was mixed with a deer and her, because her ribs were dislocated. So her dad decided to do surgery on both of them, and that's how the beasts were made. Because it's basically just animals and humans being mixed together by organs or bones, or basically just they would have like any type of body part of that animal or human part, and that would make them just live a human life.
Oh, okay.
And it says it right here how Juliet found out about
Being a beast?
being a beast, exactly. And it's on page 339 on chapter 37, which says, I jerked my chin at the open file drawer. I know that I'm one of them, an animal that you twisted and taught to speak like one of those sideshow attractions. The chain rattled as I inched toward him, and as close as I could, wishing I could strike. And thank God for it. I'd rather be an animal than have your cursed blood flowing through in my veins. And later in the chapter, it explains how it originates and how every beast is actually named after a Shakespeare's character.
Oh, I see. Nice.
Crazy.
Anyone else have
So,
questions?
Danny,
Yes.
tell me more about your main character.
Well, so Harry Potter, he's 13 years old. Doesn't really have a normal teenage life due to the fact that his uncle and aunt, his cousin, torment him, like I previously mentioned. And in the Wizarding World, I would say like a good 99% of all the witches and wizards there have either magical parents or parents that accept their gift. However, Harry Potter's uncle and aunt, they don't like the fact that he's a wizard. They don't like the fact that he has to go to a magical school in order to learn things. And so yeah, but I don't know, he's like through all that, he's still like really about magic. He's really fascinated by it, and he loves to learn. He loves to practice it, and especially the game of Quidditch, like I mentioned before. He loves that. That's his favorite thing to do at Hogwarts.
Wow, that was weird. Okay, so Jayden, tell us about your summary.
Alright, so in the book Ender Games, Earth is fighting a bunch of aliens called boogers, and they fought 2 wars so far, and Earth almost lost the second war. So they're anticipating a third war with the boogers. So they want to like bring up some like little kids to continue the war because they need more help. So they bring up a kid named Ender. Ender.
Interesting.
And they brought him in because he's really intelligent, and he can fight good because he actually killed the kid from defending himself.
A kid on the other side or on his own side? On his own.
Another human.
Oh, okay.
So he goes to battle school, and then they notice that he's more intelligent than the people at battle school. So they bring him up to command school, and he becomes a commander in there. And then he goes into a video game fighting boogers, but it ended up being real life, and he took out all the boogers and their planet.
I can kind of relate that to my book because June was smarter than most of the people at Duke University.
Yeah.
And she was in her third year, and she was only 15. Usually, you're 17, 18 at that year.
So
And just like he was hella smart, she was really smart too.
So I believe we're done, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, well,
Thank you for watching.
Thank you guys.